Let's talk tools, specifically social media management tools that I love and use every single day in the agency. Now, I have broken this video down by use case. I'm only covering the management tools that we use for social media. So the management, the administrative side of things. I will cover content creation tools in another video. That's a whole other side of things, and a video for another day. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a good sense of the tools that are available to you too. So this is our content calendar in Asana. By default, I set it to the calendar view because every day I just like to come in and see like what's going on. Every client does get their own project, and every client will be invited to the project. So they just have visibility on what's going on. This is where they approve the content and we kind of communicate and hash out any revisions. So by the time that the post is approved and ready to schedule, we can get it out and move on. So anything with a due date will show on the calendar view, but we also have way more information in here. So if we go to the board view, we have a resources column. It's much more robust for the client projects, but I'm not going to show you that obviously. For us, most of the time there's a copy swipe file, a link to the strategy, prompts, community response, FAQs, just quick grab information that's super helpful to have handy. This is also where we submit any creative requests to the graphic designer to get video edits. This is where we plan out our shot lists, and just everything operationally is done through Asana. For posting content, we use quite a few things. The main tool that we use is Metricool. I have been using Metricool for 4 years, I'd say. I've tried a bunch. I've tried Hootsuite early on in my career before the agency. I've tried Agorapulse. I have tried Sprout Social. I have tried Loomly, all these tools, and I was really drawn to Metricool for quite a few reasons. The main one being their reporting. They are really generous with the amount of competitors you can tag. Their reporting dashboard their analytics dashboard is very customizable. So you can go to reports and you can build out your own template. So every client could essentially have a template and a report, and they're very generous on the amount of social media profiles for the plan. So the price point was right. They had the most robust analytics compared to a lot of the scheduling tools that I have used. And I love their Smart Links feature. It's very customizable. Every single one of our clients does have a Smart Link in their profile. When it comes to scheduling the tools, it's really nice because you can, if you create a post, there's this saved text feature. So what we do for our clients is we'll have a whole slew of call to actions, different hashtags, different URLs with the UTMs and everything. So it's easy to just pull from it in here. So those are just some of the features that I really love about it. Now, as with any tool, they do have their limitations. Some just are poor features, poor build, but some of them are truly out of their control. One example being scheduling music. So now they're starting to allow trending audio. So you can add trending audio from Metricool to your post, but it's not perfect. So if you really want a certain song then you have to kind of natively upload that video to select that song. For Instagram specifically, you can add 20 posts to your carousels. In Metricool, you can only add up to 10. So if you want to add more than 10 slides, you do have to upload natively. And now with Meta One subscriptions, you can add links to your reels and to your posts, but that feature isn't available through Metricool. So some of this stuff has to be uploaded natively. For example, another example, you can only add up to, I believe, 3 collaborators on a post in Metricool, whereas if you upload natively to Instagram, you can add quite a bit more. The same thing, goes with TikTok. Sometimes things just have to be uploaded natively, so that would be considered another tool, right? For podcasts, we use Buzzsprout. Now, it's just our agency podcast that we manage at this moment, but I thought it was important to share because podcast is kind of a gray area. Getting into the long form content, I do natively upload to YouTube Studio. YouTube Studio is a great tool. Metricool does allow you to upload short, but it's kind of finicky. It's not perfect, and some of these videos can get quite long, and you can't add related videos if you upload a short. So basically, all that to say is I do use YouTube Studio. Now, that being said, I do love Metricool. I highly recommend Metricool. But personally, as the agency is growing and our services are getting more complex, there are, again, some limitations with this. For example, their inbox is pretty basic. There's not a ton of features and things in here. We have made the decision to switch our tool from Metricool to Statusbrew. Now we're in the process of migrating over there, so that's a whole project in of itself. But I wanted to share it in here because one thing that one draw to Statusbrew was their inbox feature. Their engage feature. So they have social listening, which Metricool doesn't. In here, we're able to assign different messages to people depending on what needs to happen. We can add priority. We can directly respond to comments from here. We can directly respond to DMs. We can see mentions. We can create multiple views, which is nice. So if I want to just say, show me only the DMs on Facebook and Instagram, I can have them in here. And it's really nice because I can assign, again, certain messages and comments to people, add priorities, all kinds of stuff. That's also helpful with influencer pitches. So we do set some automations for people interested in collaborating. There's an automation that will fire and they can send their proposals to the influencer team. But it's still really helpful just to have it all in one consolidated tool. So that was a huge draw. And then we have the brand mention. So there's a little bit of social listening. It doesn't do market research and it doesn't do trend analysis, but you can monitor the brand across the web. On the topic of community management, I do want to touch on response, right? So responding to DMs and responding to comments and just getting engagement and responding. So one thing that I really love is Meta's the messenger automation. There's so many automations you can set now, which is really great, and it's free. Up until probably a year ago, we were using ManyChat, which maybe you've heard of, and it is a great tool, but it's so expensive. Really, it depends on maybe what you're doing with it, but for us, it was really expensive. It racks up quickly. So for inbound community management, we have these automations that we can set so people can get answers to their questions quickly for common things like FAQs, what are your store hours, what's your address, where do we submit media inquiries, stuff like that, where you don't really need a human constantly answering those same questions over and over again. And then we also will be using Statusbrew to respond to people's DMs and comments. So that's inbound. Now for outbound, you really just got to open the app and scroll it and comment on things and be part of the community and the conversation. That really won't change. But one useful tool, again, is the social listening aspect, where we could type in the brand and we can see what conversations are being had across the web. And so that is useful for outbound because now we can put, industry keywords or brand keywords and just keywords to conversations we want to make sure that we're a part of. For social listening, we did touch on Statusbrew and their social listening feature, but we do also use a tool called Mentionlytics. This is where we can also track brand mentions and specific keywords, and we can gauge sentiment and share a voice. We can also kind of identify trends and just the larger part of social listening, right? And so this can help us identify what people are saying about our competitors, about our products. It can help us identify trends. It could help us with market research. So this has been a great tool and useful tool for that. For reporting, I'm going to bring it back to Metricool because, again, I do think that their reporting feature is really great. I would say maybe 3 years ago, it's been a while, I got a tool, a Rival IQ, And I honestly never looked back. I love this tool. I love this tool so much. For example, when we are doing our competitive analysis, one of the first things we do is plug in all of the competitors into Rival IQ. And when we're trying to, for example, understand what content is working for our competitors, what content isn't, we will come into the social post tab. We'll filter by whichever competitor we want to look at. We will do the list view, and you can actually tag individual posts to understand. So we'll filter by engagement total. It's easy to say, okay, this was the most engaging post that they had in the last 30 days, but why was it the most engaging post for the last 30 days? So that's where these tags come in handy, and we'll tag it. We'll say, oh, this had a celebrity in it. This one was an F&B post. This one didn't have a face. This one had a face. This was a collab with an influencer. And we will go through it. It's tedious, but it's very insightful. And so then we can go to the post tags. We can kind of find trends. We've noticed, oh, well, all of their top performing posts was about a celebrity. Okay, well, clearly that's an advantage. Or we'll notice that 50% of their content was a collaboration with an influencer. Okay, they're clearly doubling down on influencer marketing. That's something we need to take into consideration if we are to try and outperform them, right? So influencer marketing is a huge part of the agency, and a tool that we use is Mighty Scout. Now, this is where we can find influencers, we can analyze their profile. So if we get pitched by an influencer, we'll usually analyze the profile and it'll tell us how much of their audience is fake or real, the quality of that influencer, the quality of their content, have they had previous brand partnerships, how did those posts perform? So it's really cool to kind of vet influencers. We can actually pay through this app, we can email through this app, but we do find that some of the best influencers we find is from being on the app itself. So we really use this for like an vetting tool, and most importantly, tracking our campaigns. So when we do launch an influencer campaign, we create a campaign in Mighty Scout. We add all the influencers to that campaign as they, are approved. And we do all of our influencer marketing, like campaign reporting from here. Those are the social media management tools that I love, that I use daily. Hopefully you found this insightful to either know what tools you can try out yourself, or if you're working with us, to know kind of the tools that we're using to help you grow on social. I'll see you next time.